It's the Poojie Podcast, proudly sponsored by Cimarron Golf Club.
In-person pick of this in-person draft. With the first pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence, quarterback Clemson.
Welcome to episode 87 of the Poojie Podcast. It is Poojie here with the rest of the crew to discuss the 2021 NFL Draft, and we're extremely excited. Guys, you just saw on that video, fans, if you're listening, you just heard what was maybe considered the most monumental moment in Jaguar football history. I know us as Jaguar fans couldn't be more excited with the direction of this franchise at the moment. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please go watch on YouTube. If you're listening and watching on YouTube, please go subscribe and follow on Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeart, wherever you may catch the podcast at your convenience. Follow and subscribe. Help us out. Comment, like, all that good stuff. I don't know. The computer nerds know all those terms, so I just say them to try and grow this podcast. But, gentlemen, thank you for being here. We've had a lot of fun in this whole draft process. This episode is kind of like closing the book for a few months on some ideal key Jaguar stuff until we maybe get to mini camps and training camps. And I'm happy, like I said, with the direction we're going. But again, episode 87. Sam, you're sitting there like you got a lot to say. What's going through your mind right now as far as the Jaguars are concerned?
Yo. So I feel like I'm Mel Kiper. Up there is Todd McShay. We're about to have no work that we need to do for at least like you said, months, and then we'll get working on the 2022 draft. So it's been a good draft. Really excited about the Jags picks. Let's get into it.
I know. There's a lot of good stuff to get into, and it's extremely exciting. I feel like when you put all the pieces together, it looks like we are building a solid foundation, 9 draft picks from Thursday through Saturday. Obviously, a new coach at the NFL level. Excitement for all, right? He's new to this. We got a lot of young new players, but then we got a good core base of veterans and a lot of guys coming in from free agency. Jacob, what do you got to say, man?
You know, I'm glad you came to me. I just want to preface this entire video with we're going to go over the overall draft, but the first pick is all you really need to worry about in grading this draft. Because if Trevor Lawrence ends up being the real deal, the rest of the guys can suck for all I care. You know what I'm saying? So let's not pick apart the ETN pick. Let's not pick apart Tyson Campbell and talk needs. If Trevor Lawrence is the man, this draft was a success. That's all I'm saying.
I couldn't agree more. Luke, what do you got to say?
Are you congratulating the GM for making an easy pick there? So we
I
hire
don't
him
care
again,
who
extend his
the
contract
GM
for
is.
that?
I just care that we got
right?
Trevor
Trent
Lawrence.
Baalke had an easier pick than Dave Caldwell ever had.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not applauding the GM for taking the pick. I'm applauding us for getting him.
For being 1-15 and falling into Trevor Lawrence. Honestly, sometimes you need to just have that luck, whether it's finding the diamonds in the rough late in the draft, being in the ideal spot to draft these guys. Sometimes that's exactly what you need, and the Jaguars found their way into that position. But, guys, I want to ask you, maybe we do a little around-the-horn discussion here. Can you guys see me okay? Is everything okay with my camera? All right, cool. I just moved the window and everything. But I'll start with Jacob since you're top right. We'll go to Sam and then Luke. Maybe a biggest surprise from the NFL draft from what you watched Thursday, maybe even all the way through Saturday, but maybe just a surprise or two for you as far as the total NFL draft goes.
Man, I want to say, although you have your sources, you had an interview with Brent Martineau, I know, but I think for a lot of people, when Trey Lance went third, I mean, the hype started coming up. Everyone was Mac Jones, and all of a sudden he drops to 15 to the Patriots, which I said would be a great fit just because of the style of play and what Bill Belichick had. I would say that was a big surprise. There's another one I want to say maybe more closely related to us, but someone else might want it. But yeah, Mac Jones dropping as far as he did after all that smoke and all that hype.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. It felt like he was the shoe-in number 3. Sam, I know you even liked him as the number 3 overall pick there going to the 49ers. What are your thoughts on that, him not going number 3? I think you're on mute, Sam.
All right. Let me just start by saying that everybody else had Justin Fields, and I don't think any of y'all had Trey Lance on there. So we're all wrong. But I just think it's they let the draft kind of process play out, and that's who they finally evaluated. You heard Kyle Shanahan kind of say that we moved up to 3 with someone in mind that we would be happy to take at 3. I believe that player was Mac Jones, but then you go through the process. You do your interviews, you do your Zoom calls, and then you finally end up coming to a decision. I applaud them for not going with the person that they moved up for. And a lot of people would just move up and then they say, oh, we're taking that player, I don't care. And they don't do it, they don't go through the process. So the process allowed them to take Trey Lance with that pick, and apparently he's their top quarterback at that position. So I think he's going to be good in that offense. Really inexperienced guy, though, so I could see Garoppolo kind of holding the reins on for maybe even a whole year before they bring Trey Lance along. But we'll see how their record looks midway through the season.
So Sam, are we under the impression that they indeed did move up to draft Mac Jones? Did they come out and say that, and then things changed to where they ended up drafting Trey Lance? From what you said, it made it sound a little bit like you said, I applaud them for not taking the guy they moved up to draft. And I get that part, but is there something in there that is saying that they 100% moved up for Mac Jones?
Yeah, it's not I'm not, in Kyle Shanahan's dinner table or with their GM either, but it just seemed like the whole, you were watching the Vegas odds was one thing. All came out Mac Jones, all Kyle Shanahan's friends, Mac Jones. As the process keeps moving, you say, oh, well, they really like, Fields, or they really like this guy. It's not a smoke. And then a lot of people are coming out saying it's not a smoke screen. Like, they really do like these guys a lot. And I just think that's how it goes. I don't think they moved up with the intent, oh, we're going to, we don't really know. We think we like all of them. We're just going to go and we're going to – I think they went up comfortable with one guy. Mm-hmm. The process played out maybe a little differently than what they thought, and they ended up with Trey Lance. But
I think the way you just put that is perfect. I think they moved up to 3 with the idea in mind that whoever they ended up settling upon, they would be happy with, whether it would be Fields, Lance, or Mac Jones. But I think ultimately they just wanted to be in a position to make that decision when the time came, and not have another team fall in love with the guy they wanted to fall in love with. And, hey, let's be real. I mean, I talked to Brent Martineau about this. This is a team that was in the Super Bowl a few years ago, and their defense is still is structured in a way, and their offense even is still structured in a way to where one player like a Kyler Murray can turn everything around and spark that success again. And I think they recognize that. I think Kyle Shanahan recognized that. And I think another thing to add with Kyle Shanahan and even John Lynch there, both newer guys in their current roles, I think they're kind of getting away from that old-fashioned way of thinking of, traditional drafting, traditional players. And that's what Trey Lance is. He didn't have the reps in college. He didn't have the tape in college. He didn't even have the opponents in college. Yet they're looking at the way that the NFL is trending. I think they made a good pick for the future of their franchise. I think they're going to be very happy with the way that things are going to go with Trey Lance. I have a question for you guys. The way that the 5 quarterbacks played out, with Justin Fields at 11 to Chicago, who traded up to get him, Mac Jones at 15. Luke, I want to come to you. What quarterback do you think is set up most for success year one? And then conversely, maybe we'll go to Jacob after that, worst for success year one. So, Luke, with you, best for year one success.
I would say best for year one success. Well, you have to play. So Trey Lance may not even play for the San Francisco 49ers to begin with. But I do think going forward, sitting a year behind Jimmy Garoppolo, if he does end up taking the starting job. That's going to be better for him long term. I like Justin Fields on Chicago. I don't think Mac Jones will start, so you're really down to Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and Zach Wilson. I like Trevor Lawrence the best for the first year, simply because the Bears are playing in a tough division. The Jets are in a tough division with the Bills, and the Patriots revamped offense with their new 2 tight end sets. And the Jags have Deshaun Watson and the Texans reeling. The Titans are run first. So I think we have a shot to really go out there and upset some people.
Yeah. And you look at it, I mean, honestly, the AFC South in general is kind of set up as a defensive division as it is. You look at the Titans, one of the quieter defensive teams. You look at the Colts, obviously a top 5 defensive team in the league that a lot of people don't talk about but should talk about. Trevor Lawrence is going to have his hands full at least 4 games this season with the Titans and the Colts. Yeah, we might go out against Houston and put up 35 points and have fun, but there's going to be some games, and I want Jaguar fans to be very aware of this. There are veterans and defensive leaders on other teams that are going to be able to stymie Trevor Lawrence. Like, we can't look at this situation as if he's going to step in and show out like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady later in their careers. Like, you know, he's going to look like a rookie at some points, and in large part due to the fact that the AFC South, 2 of the 4 teams have a top 10 defense, which not a lot of divisions can actually say that. Jacob, what about you? What quarterback is in the worst situation year 1, do you believe?
I absolutely think that Zach Wilson is in the worst situation. I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but I think he's in a very bad situation, and that could ultimately turn into a Sam Darnold type of thing. I don't want it to, but the Jets just don't have the same firepower there. I do think Justin Fields has a pretty good shot to have some like year 1 noise, because he's got Allen Robinson. He won it out of Chicago, but they franchise tagged him. So he's got a really great receiver there. He has some other supplementary receivers. They have a young running back that's pretty solid. But with that defense, the defense can only help a young rookie, for someone to give him more opportunities to try to score and to keep scores low for him to try to win games. I want to say I agree with you, Luke. Trevor Lawrence has a really good shot in our division. But just kind of arguing for Justin Fields as well. I think he's in a good situation with that defense and with Allen Robinson. I want to go back real quick. I'll just say this fast. Sam, I have a really hard time believing they traded up for Mac Jones and changed their mind, because you gave up 3 first-round picks to go up to 3 for a guy you believe that strongly in, and you changed your mind. I don't think that was the guy. I think Trey Lance might have been the guy the whole time.
Or Belichick got the steal of the draft, being able to stay at 15, not trade any picks, and get his quarterback of the future in Mac Jones. But
what does that have to do with what I just – I agree with you, though.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, Belichick doesn't have to move any picks, and he gets the player that, you know, they probably wanted the whole time. So
I'm just saying, I don't think
that's actually
gave up 3 first-rounders for Mac Jones and then said, you know what? Because you felt that strongly about a guy to move up, and then like, oh wait, no, my bad. Trey Lance was actually
I mean, idea. I guess you're right. They could have got him at 12 the whole time, old Mac Jones, if they wanted him. But
they didn't want him. They wanted Trey Lance the whole time.
Did anyone have Trey Lance mocked in the top 10?
We're referring to like
or in the
TV
top 5
analysts, though. TV analysts molded our minds over the offseason.
Right. I mean, until the process played out.
Go down Trey Lance no matter what.
Yeah,
Trey Lance no matter what. But Jacob, could it not have been a situation like I mentioned, where they traded up knowing that they would be happy with one of the 3 guys?
It could be the chance, just because the class itself is pretty solid.
Yeah, like as weird as that is, maybe they just didn't want to be, because you look in front of them, if they stayed at 12, you have the Carolina Panthers at 8 and the Denver Broncos at 9. Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 8, 9. That's 5 teams with 5 top-tier quarterbacks. All of them could have been gone by the time the 49ers picked at 12. So I think they just wanted to get into a situation where they said, you know what? Let's get to 3 and figure it out after we get there. I know that's a ballsy move for them to make, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is the actual thinking behind it, just because it was a loaded class.
Mm-hmm. But
I want to get into my surprise real quick. I want your thoughts on this. Well, a few just like small ones. I think Kadarius Toney at 20 is an interesting one. I think his style of receiver, the style of receiver that he plays is not the typical first round wide receiver that you see drafted. You don't technically see that kind of player drafted. I know Devontae Smith is on the smaller side, but he's at least got a little bit more height to him. I think the Kadarius Toney pick's an interesting one. It's almost like they just want it, to get the best of the second tier at that point. They didn't know what else to do. They went with Kadarius Toney. I think Jamin Davis to the Washington football team was an interesting one. I think a lot of people had him as a second or even third round grade just because of the scheme and lack of sample size he had at Kentucky. But I think the biggest surprise to me, and Jacob, you hit on this with the New York Jets, I think the biggest surprise was how the Jets actually took advantage and built around Zach Wilson day one and day two. They traded up to get Elijah Vera Tucker. They traded up from 23, immediately more than they've done for Sam Darnold right there. And then they go out and get arguably a top 5 wide receiver in the draft in Elijah Moore in the second round. And then they go and get a top 5 running back in the NFL draft in Michael Carter. And you look at that, the first 4 picks are all picks that are going to impact Zach Wilson day one in New York. I think ultimately, as shitty run as that organization is, I think they did a tremendous job with these picks in the first 2 days and actually building around Zach Wilson for success. Now it's going to be up to Zach Wilson if he actually makes any magic with the ingredients that they gave him. So let's get into some Jaguar topics now. I could talk about the NFL draft in general all day, first and foremost. We could go pick by pick and talk about it. But, Luke, I want to start with you. First and foremost, we obviously have the Trevor Lawrence pick. Let's all go 30 seconds real quick. We'll start with you, Luke. Thoughts on just Trevor Lawrence coming to Jacksonville? Where's your head at?
I obviously love the pick. It's heaven finally having a franchise quarterback. I do expect us to have a little bit of growing pains. I mean, he's a rookie. Looking forward to the second year. But yeah, sky's the limit for Trevor Lawrence, and so very excited. But I do think we'll probably end up with anywhere between 6 to 8 wins.
I like it. And Jacob, what about you? Trevor Lawrence, first overall.
Very first impression is just finally. Like, it's no longer just that, we know we're going to get him and, we got to wait and see. It's actually true. We can just rest easy. But one of my biggest things, I don't focus so much only on Trevor Lawrence's performance. We hope he performs well. What I'm actually excited to see is how does he take a receiving core of Chark, Laviska, and Marvin Jones, who we all consider a pretty good trio of receivers. How does he help them elevate? Because we haven't seen Chark or Laviska really work yet with someone we consider an uplifting quarterback, like someone that can make them better. So I just want to see what does this open up for guys like Chark and Laviska. And I already know Marvin Jones has had great production in the NFL. But these two younger guys, what are they capable now of with a guy that really can get him the ball in ways that we haven't seen Jacksonville quarterbacks do?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's the word finally makes sense here all in its whole entirety. It just felt like the things broke right for Jacksonville, and the rest of the NFL hates us for it, but they can deal with it when we're in the playoffs, when we're making runs for the Super Bowl. They can deal with it. And I don't even think I'm exaggerating when I say that, actually. But I like what you said about the receiving core. I think the receiving core immediately gets improved just by drafting Trevor Lawrence. So all those people that wanted to go out and draft a receiver, just think your receivers just got better. You may have just improved the skill level. If you want to put it Madden terms, their skill ratings may have all gone up by 5 points simply by drafting Trevor Lawrence. They're going to have more accurate passes. They're going to have quicker decision-making, and they're not going to have to stay open as long because of that decision-making. So I'm very excited to see how it translates into the NFL for him. And anyone that hasn't listened already, go listen to episode 86 with Xavier Brewer. He broke down Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne and even some Urban Meyer. He's a former coach at Clemson under Dabo Sweeney, played at Clemson back in 2009 to 2012, was a first-team all ACC cornerback at Clemson, straight out of Bartram Trail here in Jacksonville. Episode 86. Go give him some love and watch that. That was a great one. But I want to get into Travis Etienne as well. And people that are listening and watching, Luke, his stream is about 3 seconds behind. So when I ask the question, he doesn't hear it for a second. So hang tight with us. Don't think it's pausing. But Luke, when it comes down to Travis Etienne, what word comes to mind when you think of Travis Etienne and what he could be for Jacksonville?
I think of electric. I mean, he's going out there, J.D. McCoy. He's going to go to the house. He's going to take your lunch money.
Luke, I think we lost you there. Luke, we might have lost.
We're going to put 7 points on the board. The quarterback.
Oh, he's back.
I think he summed it up great. We're going to put points on the board.
We're going to put points on the board. Jacob, let's go to you. Luke, you cut out there for a second. Let's go to Jacob real quick. Travis Etienne, word that comes to mind for you.
No, I think I'm going to try to help say what Luke said, that Travis Etienne's electric. I love James Robinson. He's not going anywhere. I don't want a single Jags fan to think that this is a replacement, that this is a backup either. James Robinson had a great season last year, but you know what? There were certain plays where he had open holes and he just didn't break it to the house, and that was fine. He got great production on the ground. But Travis Etienne's that guy that if he gets out in the open, he's gone, and that can really help flip the field and score some touchdowns. But what I really like is, well, James Robinson showed off this skill set. Etienne, first from 2017 to 2020, these were his catches: 5, 12, 37, then 48. So he really improved as a pass catcher. He said that's one of the reasons he returned to school. And so we're having a dynamic player, not only at the running back position, but arguably someone that could split out wide, just like Alvin Kamara. We're not saying he's going to be Alvin Kamara, but that style where he's moving all over. So there's some people that wanted a receiver. We got those. We have a running back that can kind of be moved around the formation as well.
Dang, yo, I come back in the pod and you guys are trashing my boy LeBron James Robinson. I can't have none of that now.
He didn't hear
that
the
guy carried my fantasy team through thick and thin. I don't want to hear no shit talking about my boy. About James RB1 Robinson.
Just imagine this, Sam. Imagine Trevor Lawrence in the shotgun, 3 wide receiver set. We got Chark, Marvin Jones, and Visca. Oh, and guess what? To his left, or I'm looking the wrong way probably for the camera. To his right, we got Travis Etienne. To his left, we have James Robinson. He's about to run the zone read, triple option. We don't know what they're going to do. Everybody's a playmaker. Everyone's a threat. I love it.
Oh, no, dude, I love it too. I'm just imagining it's the perfect – you need 2 guys. Dude, I just remember last season, there were times where the Browns literally would get the ball on the 25 and they would not throw it once. They would just run the ball, and they would run it with Chubb. And then they'd switch, and they'd hand it off to Kareem Hunt. And both these guys would feed off each other's energy. And there were drives where I would watch the Browns needed to score at the end of the game, and they would get the ball back. It's game over. You can just hand the ball off, and these guys will work together. They'll get you your first downs, and then they'll score the touchdown. It's like it's so easy, and I'm so glad that we're returning to a ground and pound team. That I love the pick at 25. I think it was great value at getting probably one of the last good playmakers in the first round. As far after Najee Harris, after all the wide receivers go, you're picking Kadarius Toney, and now you get a true guy that you can attack with the air, a guy you can just turn around and hand the ball off. And I think him and James Robinson are going to form a great duo. I'm super excited about that pick.
Sam, you literally just summed it up perfectly. I might actually have that recording as like my bedtime, sleep sound, just so I can listen to that on repeat, because I am so pumped right now. If anyone hasn't listened to episode 85, I went through my thoughts. It's about 20 minutes of Travis Etienne. And for all the mixed emotion, for all the people that want to say Boo, that pick sucked. We wanted,
Boo! I wanted Kadarius Toney instead. Damn it!
Well, here's the deal.
He only plays receiver though.
For a second, ready with Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney would come in and be the 4th wide receiver immediately, right? Number 4 wide receiver immediately. He's not going to step on the field, but maybe 15 to 20% of the times at receiver. Could they line him up in the backfield to play that wildcat type wide receiver like Tyreek Hill does sometimes? Yeah, but if you're going to have Kadarius Toney line up in the backfield, why not just draft Travis Etienne, because he's used to lining up in the backfield anyway? So I love the Travis Etienne pick. Jacksonville was its greatest when they had Natron Means was there with James Starks. Maybe it was James Starks. Yeah, James Starks and Natron Means back in the 90s. Fred Taylor, Maurice Jones-Drew. And then we went into the Toby Gerhart days and, all these shitty running backs that we had. But we're finally back. We're back to being the ground and pound running back, duo that we've always had, James Robinson and Travis Etienne. And honestly, this might be the most diverse running back duo that we've had as far as what the two do to complement each other. With James Robinson being the more blocking guy.
And then,
go for it.
Yeah, keep going. More of a pocket guy.
Yeah, no, I was going to say James Robinson is great in protection, and then he can bust it up the middle and break out and get those 8 or 9 hard yards when you need him to. Travis Etienne is the kind of guy that's going to shed a block out to the right, pass it to him. He's going to get out there and get those 10 to 12 yards in the passing game when no one else is open. Like, I just think it works out perfectly. I don't think this is the end of James Robinson. In fact, I think this is the beginning of James Robinson as far as what he can become. He's going to have more rested legs. He's going to have more opportunities to, especially with Trevor Lawrence, the defense isn't going to be 8 in the box like they used to be. It's going to be an open running lane for James Robinson sometimes. So I'm extremely excited about this pick. Sam, I don't know if that kind of complements what you had to say or not.
Yeah, and so I was listening to a Urban Meyer interview, and he said it perfectly. He said the question was something like, how's it going to work with James Robinson being the starter with Etienne coming in? Like, how are those two guys kind of going to split the load? And Urban was like, well, first of all, it's like, he didn't say first of all, but he was like, well, 3 guys. We got Carlos Hyde back there too. So he's ready to get the rotation going. He's going to have fresh legs pretty much any part of the game he wants. And I was going to say when I cut you off a little earlier is don't forget about Laviska Shenault in the slot. I mean, now you got Laviska Shenault in the slot. I mean, him and Travis Etienne, I mean, you can kind of use those guys in all sorts of different ways, I think. And I think that their offense is going to get real creative, real fast. And I'm super excited. But I just thought it was interesting how Urban Meyer kind of threw that in. He kind of cut the journalist off and was like, well, it's 3 guys, really. We got Carlos Hyde in there, and he's going to come in and do some work. So, I mean, Urban's he's going to get the wheels turning, baby. That ground and
like a college team, really, if you think about it. You recruit all these guys and you use all of them. So he's like, they're not going to be a backup. We're not going to have backups instead. We're going to have just a whole bunch of running backs, and we're going to use them all. We're going to have a whole bunch of receivers and use them all. It's like, why limit yourself?
There's no reason not to have weapons this day and age in the NFL. I think that's obviously the direction that the NFL is heading. And we got Luke back here. Luke, are you still on lag, or are you caught up with us now? Oh, it sounds like he's still a little laggy.
I just heard what you said. So.
Oh no. Okay. All right. Well, we'll try and catch up with you when we can. Well, first pick in the second round, Tyson Campbell, cornerback out of Georgia. Obviously, the first defensive pick that the Jaguars made in this draft, only a year after drafting a cornerback 9th overall the previous year in C.J. Henderson, and then also signing Shaquille Griffin in free agency. So all I'm saying is if these 3 guys pan out, if Shaquille continues being Shaquille and C.J. pans out to be what he can be, and then Tyson Campbell becomes what he can be, I mean, this could be a situation where it's A.J. Boye, Jalen Ramsey, and Aaron Colvin, with the Jaguar secondary again. I think this could be very exciting. Luke, I'm going to come to you with the 3-second lag. What are your thoughts on Tyson Campbell coming out of Georgia to play in the secondary for the Jaguars?
I thought it was an interesting pick. At corner, we already have 2 starters. So why didn't we go with safety? I think we were lacking a safety to help out Rayshon. So it was very interesting, which maybe he can. But I don't think we needed to fill up a third corner with our pick 33. So.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Honestly, if they would have gone something other than corner, I wouldn't have been mad. But at the same time, I wasn't mad at the corner pick. Sam, what about you?
Oh man, I love this pick. So nobody was thinking corner, right? And then kind of night before, the morning after, that kind of gets leaked. Oh, Jags really like Tyson Campbell. That might be who they go. Vegas odds start changing, showing Jags going to take a corner. But I personally love the pick. I'm on the mentality you can't have enough good corners because the way to beat any team in this league is you just throw all over their secondary, and if they can't stop you, and especially with the Jags, you can't stop the run, you can't stop the pass, then you're completely out of luck whether you have a lead or not in the game. So I definitely think we need more talent in the room, and that's what I love that we're bringing additional talent in to kind of compete with those guys. I think CJ Henderson needed a little fire under him, kind of get him up to speed, I guess, NFL level. I think more competition is good. Tyson Campbell, apparently, so him and Surtain were teammates in high school. They came out both 5-star recruits. Surtain obviously going to Alabama and Campbell going to Georgia. So they had, both 5-star recruits. They have great measurables. Tyson Campbell has amazing speed, amazing length. The only problem with him is just putting that final piece together, can finish against the ball. And so I was listening to some guys about Tyson Campbell, obviously, after we drafted him, saying that, right now, obviously, Surtain is the better corner. But a few years down the line, he said, don't be surprised where, the distance between those two guys gets really short, really quick, and Tyson develops later in his career into, a great cornerback, starting cornerback in the NFL. So I really like the potential that we're getting, and I like that we're getting more talent in that room. Whereas now you have Shaquille, you have the first round top 10 pick. You got Shaquille, who's obviously a beast, but it's just getting that little something extra. And especially the year right behind CJ, it kind of shows him, you're not, we don't have to go with you. You got to perform, and then you get your playing time. So I really love the pick.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you, Sam. Sam, like what I really wanted to make sure you kind of mentioned too is the speed. So like you said, nowadays, like people, if they can just throw all over you, you're done. And we're basically getting the guys to cover those 3 wide receiver sets. But all 3 of our guys, Shaquille, CJ, and now Tyson, are all fast. I'm pretty sure I was double checking Shaquille, but I know that the other 2, they all have 4.3 something 40s. So we have speed to counter these offenses. And I know it's not the first immediate need you think of, but they were totally going for value picks, trying to take the best players. And you got to do that when you're at the bottom of the league.
Honestly, when it came down to it for and thanks Jacob for that. When it came down to it, the cornerback pick almost felt a little bit like a luxury pick, similar to the way the Travis Etienne pick felt a little bit. Just as far as we knew we needed so many other pieces, but I've said it time and time again. We were a 1-in-15 team. We need pieces all over the field. One guy was not going to be the difference on this team, but one guy could be the difference in the future of this team. So year one, you're not necessarily looking for the guy outside of Trevor Lawrence, obviously, that's going to take this team to extreme new heights as a cornerback. Like Tyson Campbell is not being compared to or looked at as, okay, this is going to be the Jalen Ramsey of the Jacksonville Jaguars moving forward. What it is, okay, let's get a complementary piece in here, and with CJ Henderson, bring him in and just happen to see what he can become. Because again, CJ Henderson was not drafted by this regime. CJ Henderson was drafted by the previous regime. So where CJ Henderson lies in the eyes of Urban Meyer and Trent Baalke, I guess Baalke was here, but it's left to be seen. It could be a situation where Tyson Campbell becomes the number 2 guy with Shaquille Griffin, but we'll see. It was an interesting pick, but it was I enjoyed the pick. Go for it, Jacob. What do you got?
I'm just going to skip over the next pick because I want to say what kind of makes this better in my eyes. So, yes, we're thinking we need a safety, right? Tyson Campbell is a great, arguably a first-round pick. A round later, 2 picks later, we get Andre Cisco out of Syracuse, who arguably would have been a first-rounder had he not torn his ACL last year. And I know, oh my gosh, like he got hurt. We don't think that that's going to be a good idea to draft hurt players. But this guy's a ball hawk at the safety position. He had 13 career interceptions in like only 20-some games, I feel like 24 games. I could be wrong on that. But I think the net positive in the secondary with Tyson Campbell and then getting the value of Cisco is a lot higher than if we got, a Merrick or even, Richie Grant. We love Richie Grant and then whatever corner at that pick. So I really think getting Tyson and Andre is a huge upgrade just from a rookie class to the secondary on top of what we've already done. He's going to be a day one starter, in my opinion, as long as he's healthy and has a good camp.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you hit it perfectly there with Cisco being a good value pick. This is a guy that had 12 interceptions in 2018, led the country in interceptions from the safety position. 12 interceptions, finished his college career with 13 interceptions over 24 games. So I think when you look at this pick, you're obviously looking to draft a guy, and I even said it when they picked him. It's almost like he's a guy that's he's almost like a honey badger out there. Just he's got the excitement, he's got the energy, he's got the passion, but now we got to harness that and we got to hone it in the right direction, and he can become something special. Almost like the fundamentals aren't quite there yet. Everything else grades out as A or a B, but the fundamentals are a D. And we got to grade that up. We got to coach that into a C or a B for him to become worthy of starting. And I think he will be a starter. And you skipped over the Walker Little pick. Sam, anything on Andre Cisco since we're talking about him?
Yeah, our 3rd round pick. Oh, man. So Andre Cisco. This guy is going to completely change our defense, I think, if he can get healthy, just like with all the players. His ACL, I think he tore his ACL maybe the 2nd or 3rd week of 2019.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much a whole year to recover. He's going to be ready by training camp. But this is a guy, just like you're saying with, a Honey Badger or a Jamal Adams. And the player that I think, when it comes to my head, is a Cam Chancellor. Like, if you watch this guy's tape, he brings the boom to your defense and imposes his will on the wide receiver he's covering, as well as down in the box. So this is a guy you can put down in the box on run plays. This is also a guy that has probably the best range of any safety in this draft. So you can put him down in the box to bring the boom. Or you say, oh, you're going to try and go deep on me? Let me just put this guy all the way back at free safety and the single high. Suddenly, we have all the range that we need on the backside, but the versatility to bring him down and just be complete safety. I absolutely love the pick. I think a lot of people had Andre Cisco as their first rated safety. You can hear Louis Riddick right after we make the pick. Oh, man, he really gets – or actually, I think it was the next day. I think it was day 3. Louis Riddick – they're talking about the Jags. Louis Riddick starts going on about Andre Cisco, and he's getting excited. He's getting excited like me right now at the fact that this guy probably would have been easily top 2, top 3 safety had he not had the injury. Obviously, he got to get healthy. But I think this pick could really make a difference. He's probably my most excited pick out of the later rounds.
Yep.
Especially
I think he just has that it factor. I know his production speaks for itself, but just watching the way he plays, like you said, Honey Badger, that energy, I feel like he has the potential to be an actual star and like household name in this league. I'm just saying, it factor.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The it factor is something that can't be measured. It's a tape-worthy attribute, and I think he has it. It was fun to watch his highlights too. I mean, he's flying around there, just having fun with it, and it did kind of somewhat look like Richie Grant flying around at UCF, who also got drafted at 40 to the Atlanta Falcons. So I know we're excited to see what he can do in Atlanta. Luke, are you still with us? Are you on the 3-second lag still, or can you hear us?
So I can hear you guys. I don't see you guys moving, so I don't know if that means
That's
anything.
fine. You don't need to see us moving, but that was a quicker response than we've gotten all first 40 minutes. So I'm happy to have you back here. With the Andre Cisco, Luke, and Tyson Campbell to Georgia, the first 2 days of the draft, where do you kind of
you
forward
cut
in
out,
the future?
Justin.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
did I cut
You
out?
cut out a little bit.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
you cut out.
What I was saying, sorry guys. Can you hear me now?
Good.
Yeah.
What I was saying is Tyson Campbell and the Andre Cisco pick. Where do you think the Jacksonville Jaguars secondary kind of grades out right now as far as the improvements just from the first 2 days of the draft, as far as what you've seen this offseason?
No, I love the Cisco pick. So it just happened that he fell to us. I think the injuries kind of scared off a few people, but when looking at some highlights, I mean, he's a ball hawk. He was going out there just finding the ball and being center field and taking it. He can also lay the boom. So as a safety, I love the pick. And just so happened he was there at 3. We kind of lucked that out with Tyson Campbell at pick 33. But I like our secondary now. I mean, we have the 2 safeties and we have 3 corners, hopefully, that are all playing at a high caliber. So I love our safeties and I love our DBs in general. So I like that going forward. I will say that we kind of put our hand in the cookie jar trying to take picks that we already had players that were in starting roles, and now we are kind of stuck with what we have at tight end.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely a
Some great
spot for
tight ends.
concern. Oh, go for it, Luke. Well, what I was going to say is you're spot on with the tight end mention there. We can get into that where we maybe are lacking or still wanting more from Jacksonville. That is in the tight end room for sure. And did I freeze again, guys?
A little bit.
But we can still hear you. You're good.
What's so funny about this is I was just telling Luke before we recorded, I said my computer is acting up so much. What is going on?
Well, you know what? Like you guys said about the tight ends, here's my thing. I feel like they wanted to get a tight end. Maybe they just went for the value when they could. I don't know if Sam, if you would be good to talk on this with me. What do you think the likelihood? One, we know that there's the Tebow, talk. They worked out Tebow as a tight end. If there was one person in the world that was going to get him to play not quarterback, it was Urban Meyer. I've also heard potential rumors about, Atlanta's not picking up Hayden Hurst's 5th-year option. Do we trade for a Hayden Hurst? There's Dallas Goedert over with the Eagles. Is there an opportunity to go get Zach Ertz? You don't need a guy right now for like the long-term future, but you need someone potentially to pair up with Trevor. And tight end is a safety valve for rookie quarterbacks and young quarterbacks. So maybe we get someone that might only be, a 2-3 year kind of guy and not a long-term like hopeful star, but someone solid that we can trade for in the meantime. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, so here are my thoughts on the tight end. I mean, first of all, I was thinking what player in the top, 3 rounds would you have traded that we drafted for a tight end, like one of those,
No, yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't have.
So I mean, you get your running back, you get your starting left tackle, you get your starting safety, you get you get a cornerback depth. It's like all those positions to me are way more important than a tight end. So I love that the Jags kind of passed on some of the top guys and instead got positions of real need for the Jags. So also listening to some Urban Meyer interviews kind of got me thinking when you were talking about tight ends. Well, we did draft a tight end in the 6th round, Farrell, right? Luke Farrell.
Yep.
Yeah. So primarily a blocking tight end. We add Chris Manhertz, the best blocking tight end in free agency. And then you hear Urban kind of talking like, well, what do you want to do when you want to help a young quarterback? And you'd think, oh, you get a tight end you can throw to. Well, how about you extend the offensive line? How about you extend the offensive line, maybe 1 or 2 players? You suddenly give that quarterback a little bit more time to throw, to process the defense. And I like what he's saying. I think that would definitely help the quarterback a little bit more than maybe just having an outlet to throw to short. I mean, now you got ETN, you got Chenault, you got guys that you can dump it off to. Whereas now you can extend the line for our good running backs, for our power run or our run game. And you get Trevor Lawrence just that extra, maybe extra second of processing before before he goes yard. So I love that we drafted, kind of a blocking guy, bring him in behind Manhurts, kind of teach him the ropes, get him coached up from Ohio State. So, there was a little bit of Urban Meyer, discussion. So he's probably a good prospect, right? And I think a lot of these picks, I think a lot of them had to do with the connections of Urban Meyer in football, in college football. He definitely was spending all year.
So maybe like one of you, either Poojie or Luke. What would you think though? We have these blocking tight ends. How would you feel if we traded for a Hayden Hurst? How would you feel if we traded for Zach Ertz? I feel like the Hayden Hurst might be a little more likely, just because if they didn't pick up his option, they might be willing to trade him. What do you think, Luke? You'd like Hayden Hurst maybe?
Yeah, I would love a tight end that can catch the ball. You look at these teams that are successful in the playoffs, they all have a tight end that's out there catching the ball. Travis Kelce, Gronk he's not exactly what he was, but he's still Gronk. With OJ Howard, both teams that were in the Super Bowl had amazing tight ends. So we need one that can pass catch, and we don't have one quite yet. So we need to go out and find one. But I would do like Hayden Hurst if we can somehow end up getting him, maybe trading away a pick or maybe some players or something like that.
Can't be worth that.
Having a pass catching tight end would actually really help out.
Absolutely.
I know you guys have been.
Oh, go for it, Sam.
Yeah. I know you guys have been hearing the Colin Johnson rumors. What are you guys thinking about him maybe being our pass catching tight end? And he's the tall red zone option. It comes in on third downs maybe. What do you guys think about that?
First of all, I know we talked a lot about the tight end position in previous episodes. We talked about the value of the tight end position. And while I think the value of it is left to be unknown because there's so many ways teams can use tight ends, whether it's as blocking tight ends, whether it's underneath, whether it's seam guys. There's so many different types of tight ends. Like we almost need to come up with a new position for the tight end. Like a tight end is maybe the general position, but maybe like a dual tight end or something like that, because not every tight end is the same, and obviously not every player at every position is going to be the same. But I feel like the range at what a player can be at the tight end position is so wide that we get this whole terminology confused as far as the value of it goes. And I don't necessarily think the tight end is the X factor that's going to take a team from 3 wins to 10 wins. But I think the tight end position is the type of position that might take a team from 11 wins to 13 wins. I think you start looking at it, those guys make teams from great to elite. You start to see the teams that become elite, they have the tight ends that are guys that are catching the ball downfield and doing the right things in the passing game. How many times have we seen Chiefs receivers covered and Travis Kelce just boxing out everyone right at the line, and he just catches it and falls? Maybe he doesn't even get any yards. He catches it and falls. I think it's just one of those things where Hayden Hurst would be a good pickup for us as far as trading for Zach Ertz, tail end of his career. With injuries and stuff, but he still has plenty of time left. He's just not what he used to be. But fun fact about Hayden Hurst, I broke up his no-hitter in Little League Baseball at San Jose Little League here in Jacksonville. He was pitching for the Durham Bulls, and I was playing for the Colorado Rockies out of MSA. Went up against Hayden Hurst, hit a single to the gap in right field. Yeah, I say single because I was so slow, but I was the only one to get a hit off him in the whole game. So that was
he played over at MSA?
No, he played at San Jose over off like Powers Avenue in Jacksonville. And he actually played all over the place in Jacksonville. He allowed one hit, and that was to me. I just put my bat out there and got to first, and that was it. But to answer your question about Colin Johnson, I think that's the type of physical specimen, the body, that we need to try and get on the field any way possible. He's a 6'9" wide receiver, whatever he is, 6'8" wide receiver. He's a huge guy. We need to get active in the passing game some way. It might not be every down. It might not be in our, 80 yards away from the end zone in our own territory. But if it gets down to the red zone, put him in there. Who knows? Like, I think we got to get him in there. Luke, what about you, man?
Yeah, I think he's 6'6", and he's like Calvin Johnson, but without the speed and the strength. I mean, just put a really tall guy out there. The corners aren't going to be 6'6". He's just going to jump ball you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Urban Meyer already kind of shut down that, because I don't know if it was on Twitter or an interview that someone did ask about that. We're not the only ones thinking this. And, he actually said they thought of him for a second, potentially, but I feel like they overall said, like, he just doesn't have the necessary size they'd be looking for. That it's like, why take away from the receiving core we have and not just add another capable pass-catching tight end? Because what you look at these positions, and Urban talked about it, is what we're trying to do is create mismatches. And the mismatch of a tight end is that they're not necessarily faster than you. They're faster than a linebacker, but then they're stronger than a DB. And so I feel like Colin Johnson's not necessarily faster than a DB, and he's not necessarily stronger than a linebacker, so he's not the same mismatch at tight end. I think keeping him at receiver is probably the best for his sake.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And again, to our viewers out there, our listeners, sorry we had some technical difficulties during the beginning of the stream with getting everyone connected well. My computer's been a little drunk today for some reason, maybe because it's Cinco de Mayo, and it's Cinco de Mayo, Cinco de Drinko. Shout out to Shores Pub Mandarin. We love what they do over there. I'm sure that place is going to be popping off tonight over there on Losco Road, right off of Old San Augustine. Go check out Shores Pub Mandarin. But again, I apologize for the technical difficulties of my computer being drunk and Luke having trouble connecting. But thank you to Sam and Jacob for keeping this thing together. Well, Sam, you actually had some technical difficulties too. So, Jacob, you're the only reliable one here.
Let's go.
But let's finish up day 2 real quick. Walker, not so little, maybe little playing time over the last few seasons. At the end of day 2, we select Walker, little offensive tackle out of Stanford. Sorry, I had to take my jabs there. But he comes in having played 3/4 of football in the last 2 years. Last 2 seasons, opted out of 2020, got injured in the first game of 2019. But he was a guy that many people talked about being a top 15 pick if he came out after the 2018 season, which obviously he did not, goes and gets injured. But he's a top 15 talent from 2018. I just got to put one thing out there. Aaron Colvin. Is this an Aaron Colvin situation where a guy comes off an injury and then he's going to perform like the value he actually was before the injury? Sam, what about you? You look like you're thinking.
Yeah, the Walker Little pick's definitely, it's either complete boom or bust. I was watching some tape on this guy. Not much tape out there, honestly. But, I mean, he can shimmy. Like, this man can play the typewriter with whatever speed rusher is going to be coming off the left side. That is no issue. As far as strength, keeping up with the bull rush, and some of the bigger outside linebackers or edge players, and then maybe he has some struggles, or maybe he just needs to get in the weight room. But I mean, his size compared with his feet is definitely something that I could see teams really coveting, because man, that guy can get off the line quick, and then he is really gets really good depth. Yeah, he's giant. Well, the thing is yeah, right. He's 6'7", 315, and he can move like it's crazy. Go watch some tape on him. So I like that. But he does get beat. I mean, back in 2018, he was getting beat by some pass rush moves, and it's just like, I don't know. It seems a little raw. But
teach him some techniques.
Right. Well, exactly.
Hey, Luke, I want to ask you this. What if I told you the Jaguars used the 45th overall pick in the draft, not on a day 1 starter? How does that make you feel?
I mean, we have holes to fill. We have 3 picks that were in front of it, so it's like those 3 are obviously going to be started in the starting lineup. So if the 4th pick, you think about it just from pick wise, and if the 4th pick wasn't a day 1 starter, that's okay. Exactly. I know it's pick 45, but you have 3 picks in front of it that are quality starting guys. So taking a prospect that's boom or bust with the 4th pick, I know it's 45, but it's still your 4th pick as a team, as a boom or bust. I'm fine with that.
Absolutely.
But Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong. We're a 1-in-15 team that has holes all over the place. We've harped on it time and time again. Are we at liberty to draft a backup left tackle at the 45th position that hasn't played in 2 years? I mean, if you tell that to someone that's a casual football fan, they're going to look at you like you got 2 heads. I like the pick long term, but short term, it kind of makes me feel like we're playing macroeconomics, not microeconomics.
Yep.
And we got Jawan Taylor and Cam Robinson, who Cam Robinson hasn't obviously been the most reliable guy. And if he goes down, then we're bringing in a guy that's got other problems. And we got Trevor Lawrence.
I want to say, though, here's the thing. The way that I look at this risk that you're talking about with this pick, it's almost like there's like a win-win situation. There could be a lose-lose, don't get me wrong. But think about this. Cam Robinson got franchise tagged. So maybe he struggles, and we're like, okay, we're not going to re-sign him. So his franchise tag's up. Walker Little performs well, and he takes over anyway. Maybe he beats him outright. Maybe he just becomes the starter next year once we lose Cam Robinson's contract. Or Cam Robinson plays very well. We're still a little shaky on Jawan Taylor as well. Who knows if Little could end up being the right tackle. And if either of them on the left and right play well, Walker Little looks like great depth. I feel like there's so many different scenarios and how all three of them could potentially who's going to start next year. That like Little could be amazing, usurp one of those positions, or if he's not, we still have guys that potentially might do well. But then if he's good and Cam's not, Cam's out and he's in, and we already got the guy. And if he is here, if Cam Robinson does play well, we still have a great guy that might take over at right tackle because Jawan Taylor's a little shaky so far.
I feel like you can't be mad at the pick at 45 if you liked the ETN and Tyson Campbell pick, because those guys are having limited snap counts. Either Tyson Campbell is going to have the CJ Henderson counts or CJ Henderson is. And so those guys in a base defense are going to have less snap counts. 4-3-3-4, I don't know what we're running this year. But if we're playing base, I mean, one of those guys aren't taking snaps, and that was a pick 33 and a pick 9. And so if you're getting angry about pick 45, then why didn't we just take the best offensive tackle at pick 25?
Yeah,
yep.
That's
and here's
true.
The other thing. What if Little's very good and maybe Cam's good but not as great, and he moves to the inside? What if we're just putting the 5 best linemen we just have on the line and changing the positions up a little bit, and it's a double positive in some areas? I mean, we don't know what AJ Can is going to do. I like the guy, but who knows if he gets replaced at right guard, and then maybe of the 3 guys we were just talking about at tackle, the other 2 play tackle, and we've just increased the overall play of the entire line rather than just focus on one left tackle position.
Yeah, and I like that from the standpoint of, I know a lot of people wanted to get rid of Cam Robinson this offseason, and we constantly talked about, okay, well, what's the alternative? What's the alternative? And in my opinion, do I want a rookie left tackle, regardless of who it is, protecting my number 1 franchise quarterback? We just saw what happened to Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, and the Bengals still went out and got Jamar Chase and not Penei Sewell. They go out and decide not to protect Joe Burrow at all. And I just didn't want the Jaguars to be in a situation where they get rid of Cam Robinson, they bring a rookie in to play left tackle. They still have question marks on the offensive line. So what you just said is spot on as far as, let's keep Cam Robinson as a veteran. He's experienced. He'll play left tackle. Bring Walker Little in. He'll find a spot to play on the line, and kind of just let the cream rise to the top. The best of the best will play in any order, any way.
Exactly.
You just got to let that happen. So I like that. Let's get to day 3, round 4. Another defensive player. We had Jay Tafule from the USC Trojans. Not a deep draft as far as defensive line goes. In fact, the only interior defensive lineman that had a first-round grade ended up falling to the second round anyway in Christian Barmore. So when you look at this Jay Tafule pick, it almost feels like we got him in the 4th round, but he was almost like a round 2 defensive line talent based on where Christian Barmore fell, if that logic kind of makes sense. Based on the sample size of this draft, Jay Tafule was a 4th-round pick, but he was a very high-quality defensive lineman in this draft.
Yeah, so I think he was also an injury player. Is that right?
I don't know if he was injured, but I think he opted out last year because of the Pac-12 mess.
Yep, he did.
And what was going on, yeah.
Just reading it.
Right.
But he's 315 pounds. He's a big, solid nose tackle.
High motor guy, which I have on the D-line. You
really start to sound like these analysts, Sam, these TV guys.
Bro, you need the guys that are going to – you rotate these guys in, and you need them
You're right.
110%. So I like that he's stout against the defense, run D. Apparently, that's a big thing. He holds his gap. Let's stop the run before we worry. I don't know, getting to the quarterback.
I've heard Urban Meyer say that he is going to play considerable playing time. Like, he's going to find his way onto the field, and I don't know if that's in large part due to the lack of depth at that position or his talent at that position. But one way or another, this guy is going to be on the field, so we are going to be able to see his impact, hopefully from day one. And honestly, guys, as we're sitting here talking about it, this might be the most excited I've been for training camp or even mini camp in a long time. Like, we're talking about so many players that, one, haven't played in a few years, two, opted out, three, we're trying to figure out the scheme, four, we're trying to figure out where they're going to be on offense, and five, Trevor Lawrence. It's like, we're talking about guys like, I cannot wait to see them put on the Jags jersey and actually get out there and compete against one another. I mean, I'm stoked for this.
You know what you said that it kind of made me think. So you said training camp, and obviously you want to see how guys perform. Well, here's what I just thought of. All these complaints about maybe drafting similar positions we already have good players at, it's bound to happen. Hopefully not, and hopefully for not a long time. Players are going to get hurt. And yeah, we might have drafted an extra corner. We might have drafted an extra nose tackle, because I was writing it down. We have Devon Hamilton. We traded for Malcolm Brown. We signed Roy Robertson Harris. We got a lot of guys that can play that. But guess what? If one of them, maybe even two of them, gets hurt, luckily we've built up the depth very solidly across the board at a lot of positions. Just neglected the tight end, but we'll get to that at another point. That, like, we could potentially have injuries, which it will happen at some point, but we have those fail safes in there, and this is one of those guys that could potentially surprise in that case.
Yeah, we've talked about these five guys rounds 1 through 4. There's obviously, or it's 6 guys, right? It was, 6 guys we've talked about. So there's 3 guys left, obviously, between round 5 and 7. Did we have a 5th round pick this year, guys? Or was that the one that
we might have? Is that part of the one we traded when we moved up?
We traded that one.
That was traded.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But anything left on Jay Tufele before we get to the next picks?
Yeah, I mean, Urban wanted to build, through the D line and the corners. So have a great D line, have great corners, and I love that we address the D line somewhere in this draft.
And it's cool we addressed almost every position on defense except, unfortunately, linebacker, because Zaven Collins went at 16, because I think teams started to fall in love with Zaven Collins, just like we all did. But we addressed corner, we addressed safety, we addressed defensive line, and then we addressed the edge rusher in Jordan Smith out of UAB, a program that only a few years ago was actually extinct and then brought back to life, and they have become one of the top 20 group of 4 schools, at the college level. Jordan Smith out of UAB, I think he's one of those guys that comes in at that level of college football. You're trying to find those diamonds in the rough. We saw Marcus Davenport get drafted 7th overall out of UTSA a few years ago. This Jordan Smith pick feels like we're trying to hope he becomes Marcus Davenport in 2 or 3 years as a late round, late bloomer. I think the thing on Jordan Smith, and from what I've seen, is similar to Andre Sisco. I think he has a lot of speed. I just think his technique is not there. And I think at the next level, considering he played at UAB, he might struggle a little bit with some of the power that actually comes with an NFL offensive lineman. But hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm completely wrong. But I think my initial thoughts on that are, he's gonna look like a guy that maybe is trying to find his way in the first few seasons. Anything from you guys on Jordan Smith?
Yes. I don't know if you guys heard this. So what you just said about him, I totally understand. But this guy might have a great mindset to just learning and putting in the work. Because I read a tweet recently from a local Jags reporter, brought this snippet out. This man put on 35 pounds in 5 months for his pro day. And they were telling him, yo, why did you do that? You don't have to do that for your pro day. Don't worry about that. And he said, and I'm quoting this, he said, everyone asked me why I got so big, and I just told them I wanted to go to the NFL with an NFL body, a grown man body, so I put on a lot of weight and muscle. They were telling me I didn't have to, but I told them I want to show what I can do, put on weight, lose weight, that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. That's a mindset that he might not have the necessary skills or techniques down, but he's in it for the long haul. He's a football player. He's gonna put in the work. He's gonna do what he takes. We have a much better set of coaches and trainers and everything here now than ever. That if this man buys in, he could turn into something good, and he can do whatever it takes to succeed.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it comes down to, are you committed or are you interested?
Yeah.
And I
think you just cut out. But here's the thing: if he doesn't, it's a fifth
just
round
cut out
pick.
again. Oh, we're back to having Wi-Fi
pick.
issues.
There you are. I was just saying that if he doesn't
Wi-Fi
succeed,
issues.
if he doesn't succeed, so what? He was what, fifth, sixth round pick, and we just said we didn't have a fifth. So it's no risk whatsoever for a guy that potentially will, turn into something great if he just has that mindset.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fun to watch.
Hey, did we trade up for that guy?
We absolutely did.
There you go. So they obviously see something in there, and you know that Urban talks about how the kind of player he wants, the guys that love football, that are willing to put the work in, and
that's what I think they got in this guy.
So I like that they traded up. That definitely means that they see something in him, and that they were worried that he was, one of the last maybe edge rushers that could go off the board. So what do you think he'll play? He'll play outside linebacker then, right? On third downs.
If it's a 3-4, he might have that kind of mixed D-end linebacker, just pass rushing. Right.
Well, if we play a 3-4, I'm going to be curious to see where a lot of these guys end up playing, because I feel like Taven Bryan's even still on the roster, as much as we hate that, but we're not necessarily in a position to cut a player that's been on the team for 3 years that maybe could work in a different scheme. So who knows, if this type of transition could actually pay off for some players that have been playing in the wrong position for the first few years of their career. It could be a situation like that, and we find we actually squeeze some more juice out of these used up oranges than we thought we would find. Let's get to Luke Farrell. We got to what, Sam? You laughing at me?
Yeah, you referred to all of our new Jags players as dried, squeezed out oranges.
No. I said the players that have been on the team for a few seasons that we think are dead to us.
They're the oranges.
Maybe we can squeeze some more juice out of them before we toss them away. So that's what I was saying. Like a Taven Bryan, Cam.
That's how I feel about Cam Robinson, personally. I don't think he's going to be on the team next year. I don't care how good he does. If he plays super well, then the offense, the front office is going to be like, oh, here's $16 million, 17. No, they're going to let some other team pay that, and we're going to stick with little, or I feel like we'll look somewhere else in free agency. But I don't think Cam Robinson's a Jag next year. Just going to throw that out.
On to the next one, and we're moving on to the next one. And Luke, I'm coming to you with this pick. Our next pick in the draft was tight end out of Ohio State, Luke Farrell. Scary note about this guy: while watching the draft, I saw his statistics pop up on the screen. I thought it was for one game, but it said 2020 season, 4 catches, 37 yards, and a touchdown. That was his 2020 season stats at Ohio State. Not the best stats. I maybe could have found a way to do that if I was on the team. But I'm not happy with that at all. And as much as we don't really know what the tight end position holds, it's one of those topics that I'd rather not talk about and avoid, simply because I don't know what to talk about. But Luke, I'm going to come to you. You brought it up earlier. Tight end position for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Where are we?
Yeah, I think we drafted this guy. I think he has a career under 400 yards receiving. So it's obviously he's not a pass catcher. And in the phone call with Urban Meyer, the interview, he said he grew up in the same city. He was drafting the guy. And so it kind of brings up maybe Urban Meyer gets so focused in on his my guys, the guys that he's talked to or he's drafted or gone through the draft process with. And he has a certain fit that he wants to pick for, and maybe that just fits that mold. But I kind of get concerned a little bit. Maybe he's too laser focused on his my guys, and he might miss out on a few people that are out there still. But like I said, not a receiving tight end. We still need to get one of those guys.
Yeah. So here's the deal. At the end of the day, guys that you're drafting in the 6th round, you're kind of comfortable with them not making the roster anyway. But when it's a tight end, you need him to make the roster. Like, you need this guy to make the roster because of the situation we're in on the tight end side. Brevin Jordan was still on the board. He went 2 picks later, the Houston Texans. He's obviously the better pass catcher out of the 2 tight ends. And they went with Luke Farrell.
That's what I'm talking about whenever I'm saying Urban Meyer gets so focused in on the guys that he was drafting and he likes. We had Brevin Jordan as available, and he's obviously a way better pass catcher. So why didn't we take that guy? It seems just like Urban wanted to pick the guys that he was so focused and that he was doing through the draft process with.
And Brevin Jordan went to the Texans too, so that's kind of some salt in the wound if he actually becomes something good. Sam, what were you saying?
I was saying it might be a scheme thing then. You know, we haven't signed a guy in free agency. We didn't even consider, you know, the Miami kid who, you know, obviously fell in the draft. So maybe there was some unspoken, you know, skeletons with that guy. But
all right, one word answers from you guys. This is my question. Will the Jaguars go into the 2021 season with this tight end group that we currently have of O'Shaughnessy, Manhurts, Luke Farrell, and that's it?
O'Shaughnessy. That's my word.
Jacob, you say no?
Say no.
So they will add someone. Luke, what about you?
Tebow.
We got O'Shaughnessy, he's gonna come out of nowhere. The guy that won us the 2019 AFC wildcard game in Jacksonville, James O'Shaughnessy, game-winning touchdown catch, 10-3 over the Bills. We all remember it. Flashes of a young Rob Gronkowski coming out of James O'Shaughnessy in that game. 10-3. What a fantastic game that was. I'm going to go with yes on that, actually. I'm going to say yes is my answer simply because I feel like the more we keep talking about changes in the tight end room and nothing happening, it just means that we want it more than they do. We want the changes more than the organization does. They obviously have a plan. They get paid to have a plan and make these decisions. Maybe after training camp and cuts and stuff, maybe 1 or 2 supplemental pieces come in. But I think at the end of the day, Hayden Hurst I would love to get. Zach Ertz I would love to get. But ultimately, I don't think we're going to get any big-name guy that's going to come in and be the face of the tight end room. I think James O'Shaughnessy is the number 1 guy going into the 2021 season.
Let's go.
There we go.
You know what? You're about to move on? Let me announce this pick. All right? With the 209th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Penei Sewell. Wait, what? Wait, Jalen Camp? What do you guys know about Jalen Camp? This is what I know about Jalen Camp. This receiver put up as many bench press reps as Penei Sewell. The top tackle in this draft put up 30 reps, and we just got a receiver that put up 30 reps. This guy's a monster physically. I just looked this up. I cannot believe it. This is another Laviska Shenault. I just want to ask you guys, what do you think about having this guy? Do you think he's going to be on the roster? Because this guy's apparently a monster in the weight room. Might be another DK in terms of physicality, not performance.
I mean, honestly, this guy's last name may be the only Camp that stays with him after training camp because I don't think he's going to stay anywhere on this roster. Ultimately, I think the wide receiver room is too deep. I love how you hyped him up there, though. I think when it comes down to it, you're not keeping 7 receivers on this team.
Absolutely. I didn't want to hype up as much the fact that we got him. I was just shocked that we had a receiver. I think what I just read while you guys were talking was that no receiver has ever gone over 27 reps at the NFL Combine. And this man did 30 at his pro day. And it's not like you can fake that or like it's unofficial 40 time, whatever. That's amazing. I just thought that was crazy. And I just wanted to hype up the fact that this receiver put up 30 reps.
I kind of think about the Georgia Tech scheme, though, running triple option, you know. They probably are forced to put on a lot of weight in the weight room and block a lot, you know?
Yeah.
But Luke, you say that. What do these guys have in common? Demaryius Thomas, Calvin Johnson, Jalen Camp.
Nothing.
Georgia Tech.
All went to Georgia Tech. Jalen Camp is maybe the next Calvin Johnson or Demaryius Thomas for the Jaguars. I mean, let's see. I think a lot of people obviously sleep on the Georgia Tech wide receivers.
Oh,
Granted,
jeez.
their scheme has changed since the coaching has changed. They're no longer full-on triple option. They do actually spread it out a little bit now. But maybe we found a diamond in the rough.
Absolutely not. I just looked at his stats. He had a career 46 receptions in 4 years at Georgia Tech. We got nothing.
But he was playing behind the likes of Tyler Davis, former 7th-round pick from the Jacksonville Jaguars, tight end Tyler Davis, who can't find his way onto the field. So he had great competition, is what I'm saying. Anything from you, Sam, on this Jalen Camp character? Or are we closing the book on this?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a good special teams guy, and Urban Meyer's really, intent on making our special teams better. So let's make him a baller on special teams, and then have him work his way onto the actual field. I think it's a good pick.
Hey, you know what? That's why we have you there as the closer. You came in and saved this man's character and pride by, telling us. I had not even thought about special teams, but
this guy can put up more bench presses than all 4 of us probably combined. So
probably, Sam, 100,000%.
I don't know.
Right,
I'm 225. I don't
even know. Yeah, exactly. I don't even know how many of those I can do. But he can definitely do more than me. And
Sam, you can't do any of them.
So I don't know. I've never tried. So you never know in these kind of situations. But,
all right. Well, what I'm gonna have you do is we're gonna do an Instagram challenge. Challenge Sam to a bench.
Let's go.
We'll start at
me versus Camp. Let's go.
Do a video. We'll post it.
Get him on the pod.
We'll get Jalen Camp on the pod, and you just challenge him.
All 4 of us will go at the same time. You can stack all 4 of our little pictures up, and then we have Jalen Camp just fucking busting them out, and all 4 of them.
Yeah, I don't think any of us can do a 225 rep bench press.
Maybe all 4. What we should do is all 4 of us versus him, so we all get to lift the bar. We all lay down.
Oh no, that'd be it. We're each on both sides and see how much we can lift it up and down.
And we challenge on that. But all right. Let's do our 20-second recap of the draft. I just want your thoughts. I know we just went through all the players. 20-second recap. Big Mooch, we'll start with you. Overall thoughts from Trevor Lawrence all the way down to Jalen Camp. How did this draft make you feel?
Excited. Just from the first pick on. All those other ones, it's like I was mad about ETN, then I grew around and liked it. Tyson Campbell, same thing. I was mad about it, I grew around and liked it. So I think they know what they're doing, and we'll trust the process.
I like it. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, so I think Luke had spot on. I like that they seem like they know what they're doing. They have a wide variety of positions they're going for. It's like they're kind of drafting a certain kind of player, so they want the speed, they want the physicality and the toughness. So as kind of like a comparison, let's do like the Raiders draft. They had Alex Leatherwood at tackle. Everyone kind of criticized that maybe a little bit, but it's a good pick at number 17. They take Morig, the safety out of TCU, at their second pick. Okay, pretty good safety. I don't know why it was dropping so much. Okay, then they take another safety in the 3rd round, Devon Diablo. Okay, so we got Morig, we got this Diablo guy. We just signed Carl Joseph, and we have the other 1st round pick we took. What's his name?
Damon Arnett.
No, that was the corner. Who is the
Josh Jacobs, Cleveland Farrell.
No, Abrams, Jonathan Abrams. So they have Jonathan Abrams. They got Carl Joseph. They just signed. They just did Morig in the 2nd round. You take Diablo in the 3rd round, and then you take another safety.
No.
4th round.
They took 3 safeties in this draft?
Tyreek, correct. Yeah, so you take 3 safeties when you already have 2 starting safeties. So I've played Madden before, what are you going to do with these guys? You can move maybe one of them to corner. So it's just like these guys don't really know what they're doing. So it gives me hope that the Jags seem to know where they want to go, and drafting talent. I don't know. So
yeah, part of me feels like Mike Mayock just taking his draft board from his analyst days and was just like, I don't know, this is the best guy on the board. Let's take him. Let's just draft him. Best guy on the board.